In April 1945, the Second World War was nearing its conclusion. In Europe, Allied armies were driving ever further into Nazi Germany from east and west, and victory was, quite literally, within their sights. For Adolf Hitler, once the triumphant master of an empire that stretched from the Pyrenees to the Volga, the writing was on the wall. Now a Berlin recluse in his underground bunker, surrounded by only his most loyal supporters, the Führer's every word still meant life or death for the German people and the millions of foreign slave laborers and concentration camp inmates in Nazi captivity. Before the guns would be finally silenced, hundreds of thousands of innocent souls would perish in the flames and rubble of the dying Third Reich. On the opposite side of the world, Hitler's Axis partner, Imperial Japan, had been left reeling by the Americans fighting in the Pacific theater of war. Sustained by the world's greatest economy, the reach and sheer power of the USA was by now simply staggering. Huge amphibious armies protected by massive naval forces were leapfrogging across the Pacific ever closer to Japan, and giant B-29 bombers were raining fire and high explosives onto its cities. In the waters around Japan, American submarines had almost run out of ships to sink, and in the meantime, the Japanese population, some 90 million strong, faced economic collapse and starvation. In the Far East, British troops had recaptured Burma from the Japanese, who had been in occupation since 1942, and back in London, Prime Minister Winston Churchill was receiving equally encouraging news from the fighting on all fronts. Even so, after 5 years of steering the nation through the stormy waters of war, Churchill was weary and anxious about the future. The old warrior was concerned that the British Empire, exhausted and financially drained by such lengthy fighting, would be sidelined as the endgame came into view by its more powerful American and Russian allies. Winston Churchill had undeniably given his all for king and country, and an Allied victory promised to be his finest hour, but he was wise to be cautious, and quite incredibly, his own future as the nation's Prime Minister was far from assured.